Os pés no chão, nas mãos o tempo.
Hello, if you don't know me, my name is Joy, and I am a fantasy writer. I'm working on the second draft of what I'm currently calling Project Phoenix, and it is a high fantasy with gothic vibes and a romantic subplot. And my, oh my, you guys, I'm excited to film this writing vlog because it has been over a month since I have vlogged anything for this channel, and that's crazy to me. But looking back on August, it was kind of insane. It was an insane month. At the very beginning of August, I had my half marathon race, which I almost met my goal. I wanted to run it in 2 hours, but I ran it in 2 hours and 50 seconds. So close, but it's okay. I'm still really proud of myself for doing it. It was my very first half marathon race, and I hope to do more in the future. And then the week after that, I went to Italy, which is still very surreal and strange to say. It was my first time ever going to Europe, but yeah, I had the privilege of going to Italy for a week, and so the B-roll at the very beginning of this video that you saw was clips taken from Italy. It was so beautiful, and I got so many ideas for stories and books that I mean, my notes app is just filled to the brim with so many ideas and like so much inspiration. And some of the medieval cities in Italy honestly have a really similar vibe to what I'm going for with Project Phoenix. And the Duomos remind me a lot of Project Sol. So yeah, just really great. I love learning about different cultures and history and art, and I was surrounded by all of that in Italy. That was a wonderful experience. And the week after that, my mother was in town, so I was focused on spending time with her. And the week after that, I got my wisdom teeth taken out, so I was completely out for like a whole week in pain and on meds. I'm still a little bit swollen. Oh my gosh, you guys, I was such a chipmunk. It was ridiculous. Like the bottom half of my face was larger than the top half of my face by a lot. So I'm about a week removed from that wisdom tooth removal surgery. I got all 4 of them out. And yeah, I'm finally ready to like dive back in to vlogging and life and all that. I didn't get a ton of words down in Project Phoenix in the month of August, technically speaking. However, I was working on the story a lot. And in fact, while I was in Italy, speaking of all of those ideas, I completely redid my magic system while I was in Italy. I had just had the realization, I mean, I was never fully content with the magic system that I had, but I liked some parts of it and I was making it work. But the story has evolved a lot over time, especially in the second draft. I'm completely, rewriting it. I'm really teasing out more of the gothic vibes of the story. I'm really finding the theme that's resonating with me. Yeah, with all those changes, the magic system that I had just didn't work anymore because it just didn't feel like it meshed with what the story had become. So I brainstormed with my husband for a little bit, and I had this one concept inspired by something that I had seen in like one of the chapels in Italy, and I just kind of ran with it and merged it with some of my other like older ideas from the old magic system. But it did change a lot. It had a lot of implications. Because of that, I actually decided to go back through the first 5 chapters, and I completely combed through those first 5 chapters, refined them, and added a lot of changes to account for like the new world building and magic system that I had created. So it's almost like the first 5 chapters are now a draft 2.5. And, as of right now, I'm 40,000 words into the second draft. I have most of part 1 drafted. Yeah, the first 5 chapters are really clean. I think part 1 goes through to like chapter 8 or something like that. So I actually really want to go back through the last 3 chapters of part 1 and kind of bring those up to speed, update it with the new magic system, kind of the same way that I did with the first 5 chapters. So for this vlog, that's my main goal. And then if I can draft a little bit further than that, we'll see. Another update to my story. Well, remember, if you guys have been following along with me, you might recall that I originally thought that this story was going to be a duology, but then I completely changed my mind and I was like, I don't know, the second book, I'm just not feeling really excited about my ideas for it, and I think I'd rather make it a standalone. I might be changing my mind again. Love that. We're allowed to change our mind. Things change, things evolve, stories change. It's all still taking shape, but I came up with a new ending. I actually drafted a little portion of a scene, like 500 words of a scene at the very end of the book, because I just was hit with a realization that the ending that I had in place was too predictable. Like, it lined up with the characters as they were at the beginning of the book, but it wasn't very reflective of how they've grown and changed, if that makes sense. And I was like, that's really dumb. My ending should challenge my characters and force them to make a decision that they never would have made at the beginning of the book, but because of what has happened throughout the book, they're now ready to make that choice. So yeah, I changed it. And I'm really happy with the change, but that does mean that I think, I don't know, I want to figure out a way to make it a duology now, because I don't think I can say all the things that I want to say or capture everything with these characters in just 120,000 words in a standalone, especially part 1 is 40,000 words, y'all. That cannot be so. There's 4 parts, and I don't think that they're all necessarily going to be like the same size. Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Not with all the story that I have to tell. So I am going to also, maybe this week, maybe later, I don't know. I am going to sit down again and just see if I can outline the second book and get things to a point where like it feels like a complete story. Because yeah, my biggest hang up was like, okay, well, if I'm wanting to query this, I would want to query it as a standalone with series potential, but I just don't know how to write a standalone and like wrapping up the story but leave it open for a sequel. A few months ago, I could not wrap my brain around how to accomplish that. But I have an idea, like because of this new ending that I've come up with, I think I might actually be able to make it work. So that's another thing I'm going to be working on. So yeah, refining the last 3 chapters of part 1 and toying around with outlining the second book in the duology, if it is a duology. I'm also trying to brainstorm a title for this book or the second book. And I already know, if I were to make it duology, I already know what the duology would be called as a whole. That's another thing. And if I manage to do all of that in the next couple of days and I still want to keep on vlogging, maybe I'll keep drafting and like dive into the beginning of part 2. But yeah, those are my current goals and I'm really excited about all of them. I cannot wait to write. I've been itching and dying to write. Like every single moment that I have of free time, like all I want to do is write. I just have been in such a writing mood. I don't know if it's because of like the fall weather. It's been so beautiful and it's just, it's gorgeous out. I mean, it's sunny. The leaves are just starting to turn. It's windy, but like not too cold. I don't know. It has been wonderful. And fall is a great time of year to write. So I'm ready to just hunker down. Okay. One last thing. I'm realizing, oh my gosh, I've been talking for at least 10 minutes now. What an introduction clip, right? But I had so many updates and so many things to share with you guys. But one last thing, and hopefully I'm not missing anything. You know those 5 chapters that I really refined? I sent them to a few friends to read over and provide feedback. I'm hesitant. I'm not calling them like beta readers necessarily because it's feedback, but I don't know, maybe it is beta reading, but it's very loose, not as structured as I plan to be with like official, like an entire beta reading thing. It was more like, okay, here's the first 5 chapters. Does the world building make sense? Is it consistent? What things are you noticing? What do you think is happening? Is there anything that's confusing to you? That sort of thing. Because I just, especially after making all of those changes to the first 5 chapters with the magic system and some of the world building, I just wanted to have a second or third or fourth pair of eyes on it to just be like, okay, does this work? And you guys, I got really nice and really good feedback. I mean, it was constructive. There were several notes that I was like, okay, that's a good idea. That's a good thing to keep in mind. And I will be chewing on that. But for the most part, like it was just very well received. And that was incredibly encouraging to me. It just filled me up so much. And I think that's another reason why I'm so excited about my project is that I just got a lot of really encouraging words, a lot of really encouraging feedback. And I'm excited to just like get the rest of this draft done, you know? Because honestly, yeah, I'm really proud of where I'm at so far. And I'm feeling more confident now that I have the magic system in place that I think that I want. It's Sunday afternoon. It's currently 2:18. I want to make myself my afternoon coffee and then I want to sit down and write. I want to do at least like a 30-minute sprint. I haven't decided yet if I want to do like the brainstorming titles thing right now or if I want to work on outlining the second book or if I want to like actually tinker with the chapters. I don't know. I'll figure that out when I sit down and I'll keep you guys updated on what happens. But yeah, let's do it. Hello, it's the next day. It is Monday afternoon, and oh boy, sorry, it's been a long day. And if you hear my children screaming downstairs, they are just affectionately competing with each other, trying to determine who can be the loudest. I don't think that's actually what they're doing, but they may as well be doing that. But okay, yesterday afternoon / also last night, I spent some time sorting out what I think Project Phoenix's like official book title is going to be. I think I have it. I don't know. I want to take some more time to chew on it, but I think I have it, and I'm changing my mind officially. I'm pretty certain. I sort of was alluding to this earlier, but upon thinking about it and starting the process of outlining and summarizing what I already have and just looking at the world, looking at the story, there is no way that I'm going to be able to fit everything I want to fit in this book and in this story in 120,000 words. It's impossible. It's not happening. It could be a standalone if I were allowed to have like a 600-page book, but alas, for a debut, that's not happening. Unless I were to self-publish, which it's not on the table. But I think I do want to try the traditional route first. So returning to the title thing, I'm not ready to share it yet, but my friend Ari, who is also on AuthorTube as Ari's Pages, had some really good advice when it came to how to decide on a book title, because I have been struggling and trying to do this for ages, but she is like notoriously really good at book titles. So what she suggested was that you kind of look at other books, observe what formulas they use. So for example, a really popular one that I won't be using because I think it's overused is like a blank of blank and blank, like A Court of Thorns and Roses. But that's just one example of like a formula that's really popular. But it could also be like blank and blank, or a blank of blank, or a single word, or maybe like a single compound word that is made up. Like I'm thinking of Moth's Blood, which is Lynn's book that's going to be coming out here soon. Another formula would be like of blank and blank, or what I ended up tentatively going with is verb these adjective plural noun. That is the formula that I personally used. I haven't seen that formula like a whole lot, but I'm using the same formula for like both books. So that's kind of what you start with is okay, list out a few different formulas that you think that you like, and then make a massive list. Just brainstorm, brain dump, a big list of words of all the things that pertain to your book. So for me, some of the words that I was coming up with were like slumber, wake, haunted, bones, relics, apprentice, guild, sorcery, past, carnet, wastes. Those were just like a few, but I made it like a huge list brainstorming with Emily and Ari. And then from there, you just kind of plug words into the formula, like whatever kind of goes together and makes sense, and just keep churning them until something just clicks. Like that's what I ended up doing. What I had been trying to do was I was just writing and hoping that somewhere in my draft I would write a phrase that just totally encompassed like the character arcs or the theme, or maybe it was like a world building element or something. Like I'm thinking Legendborn. That's a great title and it ties in directly. All of those titles are really good. Like Legendborn, Bloodmarked, and Oathbound, I think. Those are all like terms in that series, and that's the example I'm using because that's what I'm reading right now. But yeah, I was kind of hoping for something like that, but it just was not working. So yeah, I tried what Ari suggested and came up with a couple of titles that I really liked. So update number 1, I think I have my titles. Update number 2, I began the process of kind of re-outlining for like the zillionth time my first book 1. So first, of course, I just did a reverse outline of what I have already written because, as we've already addressed, I went back and changed a whole lot in part 1 because I changed the magic system in the world. And I was also like really thinking deeply about the themes and the character arcs. And I also changed the ending. So I was like, okay, well, I'm going to have to change stuff anyways. And that calls into question kind of the rest of the book. I don't want to completely blow up the plot, but there are some nuances, and I think I want to move some things around. So I started re-outlining book 1 with kind of the new direction that I'm going with some of these scenes, which I'd already done this prior to beginning the second draft, but again, a lot has already changed after writing part 1. So yeah, I just had to redo that. But I'm also rewriting it because I'm planning on it being a duology now, which means that the first book needs to be a standalone with serious potential. So it needs to end at a place where it is satisfying and it's complete, but there are absolutely things that need to happen to continue the story and finish the overarching, like, bigger picture plot. So there are some things that were in my original first draft for book 1 that I think I will shimmy over to book 2, at least in terms of like world building things, because they were world building elements that weren't going to be really relevant in book 1 with the new ending. So yeah, basically I just have a lot of moving around to do. I am nearly done with outlining or re-outlining book 1, and I started kind of loosely coming up with a few ideas for book 2 because I know how book 2 ends. I know how the series as a whole ends, but you know, I have to come up with like a whole new inciting incident. And I'm thinking, okay, if this is their goal, like let's expand some of the obstacles and break open the world a little bit, and also explore, okay, how much further am I going to push the character development? Because the characters grow during book 1, but they have other areas to grow in for book 2. And I'm trying to just identify that and figure out exactly what I want their character arcs to be and how that aligns with the theme that I'm wanting to explore. So yeah, it's a lot of work, but I'm glad that I'm doing this now before diving into drafting again, because I think I will feel a little bit more cozy knowing where I'm going. And knowing me, it's subject to change. But a lot of this really is developmental editing. Like, this is what it is. I am messing around with the plot. I'm messing around with character arcs and theme and just those big picture elements, moving things around. And yeah, I'm excited to be able to spend some more time with these characters and in this world in a second book. And it's interesting because a few months ago, when I decided to make it a standalone, partially did that because I wasn't feeling very good about book 2 and what it was going to be. But I think I've grown a lot more as a writer and as a storyteller between working and reworking Project Phoenix multiple times, as well as working through like Project Saul. I did a lot of brainstorming and zero drafting and story crafting for that. So yeah, I do feel like I've grown a lot, and so I'm better at coming up with ideas. I'm better at coming up with obstacles and meaningful conflict and tying everything together. I can kind of recognize myself growing in that, and that's really exciting. So yeah, tonight I have some more work to do for like my actual job. I have to edit a whole bunch of photos, which is fine. Hopefully my husband's actually picking up dinner tonight because we are sparse in the grocery department, and I'm like at capacity in a lot of ways. But once all that is done, oh my gosh, I'm so excited to write this evening. Hello. Oh, it is Sunday evening, so it's been several days since I've actually updated for this vlog, although I have been writing quite a bit. I don't know if I remember where I left off. I think, let me look at my notes. By the way, if I look kind of rough and exhausted, it's because I am exhausted. I came down with a cold this weekend, so I have a sore throat and I'm just generally not feeling well. Plus, this week ended up being absolutely absurd in every single way, and I had so many work things come up and things take longer than I thought they were. So yeah, insane week. But I've been chipping away at my book as much as I can. Okay, yeah, I don't think I've talked about anything I've done at all, like the last few days. Okay, I've made a lot of progress actually since the last time we talked. So I think I mentioned already that I'm planning on making this a duology again. So I was kind of re-outlining the first book because I had to adjust the ending and kind of adjust some of the plot beats so that I could, make it a shorter book and end it in the right place. Let's see, and it's over 5,000 words. I just did like a paragraph summary for every chapter, but then I had an idea. I mean, I was kind of pivoting between book 1 and book 2, like the 2 outlines. And I'm not a great outliner. I just kind of spitball ideas. Like, it's not very structured. It's a little bit like, this is what I think will maybe happen. I had just an epiphany a couple of days ago, or maybe it was even yesterday. I don't know. I literally have no idea when it was. But I had an epiphany. There's a whole section, honestly, like the whole middle part of Project Phoenix, of book 1. I had an epiphany on how to change it and streamline the plot. So I made a version 2 of the outline and just rewrote the outline with that new plot in mind. And it's like the beginning of the book is the same. Part 1's the same. What I've already written is pretty much the same, with the exception of things that I've already been changing and streamlining because of the magic system change that I had. And what happened in the middle of the book is I had a few kind of random subplots that I liked, but I always felt were maybe a little bit forced and added a lot. Like there was so much world building that I had to add in terms of word count. I don't know. I'm just afraid that it sort of messed with the pacing, but it wasn't worth it, Basically, I felt like the middle, while there were some interesting things, it was just kind of bloated. And I felt like a lot of the things that occurred in the plot, kind of once I re-outlined it and was looking at it, I felt like a lot of things that occurred were more contrived, and they were happening because I needed them to happen. And so I figured out a roundabout way of like, okay, well, these characters need to wind up here and have these character beats. So how can I make them do that? And so I came up with it, but it still didn't feel natural, and it was very convoluted. So this new idea that I had and that I ended up outlining, the second outline I haven't completely finished because I think that it is going to affect even like the end of the book as well. The second outline is like 3,000 words so far, and I need to like keep it going to the end of the book, see how much changes, how much remains the same. But yeah, basically the middle like 5 or 6 chapters are very different. The core of what happens is kind of similar, but yeah, the one bummer is that there are a lot of scenes and character moments I'm going to have to put on the chopping block and sacrifice because they don't fit anymore in this new outline. But the positive is that I do think that this kind of new plot is more streamlined. It makes more sense. It has a better pacing, and there are going to be some cool opportunities with it thematically and like with the characters and stuff. So I think it's going to be good in the long run, but it is a little bit like, wow. The middle was what I thought was probably going to stay the same in this book, and now I'm also changing it. This book has transformed tremendously from the first draft to the second draft, and I think part of that is because this is my first complete book that I'm writing. I mean, I have written so much before in the past, but I've never finished a full draft, and I've never finished a full book. I've never gone through the entire process, start to finish. And, I think in the future, I don't want to say this with any certainty because who knows. I think in the future I will get better at storytelling and hopefully have a stronger idea of the whole book and not have to like go through this process of writing something and then completely changing it and disassembling it and completely rewriting everything, because I think I've definitely been learning a lot of lessons from this book and from this writing process, but it does feel a little bit inefficient. The most efficient path would probably be either discovery writing a first draft or zero drafting something. But like the storytelling is so in my bones that it just comes out mostly correct the first time. The way that it came out in the first draft of Project Phoenix is so far from correct. Like I'm changing so much, you guys. I don't even know how to explain. It's literally so much, but it's going to be so much better this way. And it's hard to change so much about your book. And I'm hoping that this is teaching me to be just a better storyteller in general. Like I just have a better instinct when it comes to the structure of story and of character and theme and all of those things. Like I can feel myself improving, which is really cool to see in real time. It's interesting because I think for me personally, personally, like prose has never been my problem. Coming up with a cool turn of phrase has never been my problem. Like I've always been pretty good at that, pretty good at poetry. I excelled in my creative writing courses because we were writing short stories that were really small scale and I could get by with my pretty words, right? But when you're writing an entire book, the structure of the book is so important and the character arcs are so important. And frankly, I mean, I love strong prose. I literally just made a whole video talking about prose. But the area that I needed to grow in as a writer was absolutely in the structure of story and how to come up with a compelling plot that is always moving and that is cohesive. I mean, making every single scene matter has been huge for me too. And now that I'm looking at like this new outline that I have, I'm really excited. Like I'm genuinely so excited. It's not exactly complete. I mean, there's still some details to fill in, but I'm really, really close. And I also, for the second book, okay, now this was interesting, trying to outline when I'm really not an outliner, trying to outline a second book when I've never written a sequel to anything. It's like, how do you come up with, okay, what's the inciting incident? What are the complications? Whatever. Because I know, the thing is, with this book, I know how I want it to end and I know what their goal is, but I was like, I don't have any idea how they're going to do it. Like, what's the how? What's the story? So I kind of had to zoom out again, and it's interesting to go from a more granular perspective to a zoomed out story structure perspective, and especially with fresh material, because I've been working with material that at least already had a first draft, so I had something that I was working with, but with this second book, I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm starting from kind of scratch again. I mean, it's the same world, which is helpful, but I'm starting the story itself from scratch. So that was a very strange and disorienting feeling. And for a moment, I had no idea where to start. But I just began by asking myself questions, right? I told myself, okay, this is what their goal is. Like, this is how the book ends. What obstacles get in the way of those goals? And what character traits do I want them to grow in? Because they grew a lot in the first book. So in the second book, how are they still growing? Because they still have a ways to go in their development. How is their relationship growing, like between Vera and Cecil? Where do I want it to land? And then I suddenly came up with a really fun idea. And I was like, okay, that's fun. And then I started making a list of things that got revealed in book 1 and the things that still need to be revealed in book 2, because I think that that's also important. Some of my favorite parts to books are the reveals that happen. And so it's important to me to like not have all of the exciting reveals in book 1. Like I want there to be some saved for book 2. So yeah, I was just basically brainstorming. I don't have a solid outline yet, but I have a lot of ideas. Like I just had like a whole brainstorming session. And so like that little page document thing within Scrivener is like 1,500 words for book 2. And I still need to do some work on it. I don't know if I feel like working on it right now though. We'll see. We'll see. But lately, so today specifically, I actually went back through and started combing through the rest of part 1, because remember, if you recall, like the first 5 chapters were pretty solid, but chapters 6, 7, and 8, which is like the remainder of part 1, were all a little bit like, you know, they had gaps in them. So I today combed through chapters 6 and 8, and now I have to comb through chapter 7, and then part 1 will be like pretty much, honestly, really solid. Not gonna lie, like very, very solid, because I've done so many passes over part 1, like chapters 1 through 8. Well, I still have to do chapter 7, but at this point, like I've done so many passes on them, it's really excited, because that's the part of the book that really feels like a book. And now, like, then I get to venture into very new territory, because I've completely changed the plot for the middle of the book. So, but I have made a lot of progress this week, even though like it hasn't really been word count progress, because I'm still like right around 40,000 words, but I've been like deleting some of the scaffolding that I had, deleting and replacing words, trimming things down, adding some things, like it just sort of cancels itself out. So yeah, I mean, I'm not trying to inflate the word count in part 1, because it's already 40,000 words and I don't need that. I need it to be shorter, actually. If I can make it shorter, I don't think that's possible. But that's not the only marker of progress, and I'm trying to remind myself of that because I feel weird looking at my track bear and being like, wow, I have made literally no word count progress for like in the last month, basically. But that's because this month I've been working on my book a lot, but it has been revising part 1. It has been re-outlining, changing the plot, changing the magic system. But the good news is I am feeling pretty confident, honestly, like very, very confident at this point in part 1. And I feel like it's a really strong foundation for me to base the rest of the book on. And I have a direction, you guys. So we'll see how I feel once I start drafting those middle chapters that I re-outlined and kind of changed the plot direction with. But honestly, I think I'm going to end it there because I completed most of what I intended to. Like, I didn't get chapter 7 done, but I'm probably going to work on that tonight pretty much. And I feel like I accomplished a lot and I'm proud of myself. Now, the question is, am I going to meet my goal of completing the second draft by the end of the year? I don't know, because I feel like this whole month has been, like, I don't feel like I've made a lot of progress even though I have, because it's the word count thing again, which is dumb. I had expected to, write like 20,000 words this month and be at 60K by now, but I'm not. So now I'm like, ugh, am I going to be able to write, 80,000 words in the next 2.5 months? Is that how much we have? More like 3.5 months. Yeah, I don't know if I can do it, but maybe I can. So, okay, well, that's going to be it. Thank you so much for joining along with my writing journey. If you made it to the end of the video, just leave any sort of writing or book emoji. If you like this type of video and you want to follow the rest of my writing vlogs, writing journey, I have a whole playlist where you can follow along. So yeah, until next time, bye.